Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to crack the code on a really crucial skill for any coding student: how to master time-based coding for pathology consultations. Why is this so important? Well, sometimes the clock is genuinely the best tool you have to tell the complete story of the work being done. Okay, let's jump right in.
So here's the big question. When does a clock actually beat a checklist when you're picking a code? The answer, you'll find, is simpler than you might think. It's when we're dealing with specific pathology consultation services. In these cases, time isn't just a factor, it's the factor that drives your entire code selection.
All right, here's our game plan for today. We're going to cover why we even use time in the first place. Then, we'll get into what total time really means according to the official CPT guidelines. We'll look at which specific activities you can count. We'll also figure out what to do when a really complex case runs long. And finally, we'll wrap up with the glue that holds it all together: documentation. Okay, so here's the core idea. For pathology clinical consultations, you actually have a choice. You don't have to get bogged down in just the complexity of medical decision-making. Instead, the CPT guidelines give you another path. You can use time, and time alone, to pick the right code. And honestly, for consultations that are heavy on deep analysis and communication, this can be a much more direct and accurate way to go.
So, meet your new best friends for this job. Codes 8053, 8054, and 8055. The rule here is wonderfully simple. The total time the pathologist spends on the consultation has to line up directly with the time that's specified in that code's description. It's just a clean one-to-one match. Clock says this, code says this. Done.
So now that we know which codes we're using, we've come to what is, without a doubt, the most critical piece of this whole puzzle. Seriously, if you get this next part, you're golden. Understanding what CPT officially means by total time is the difference between a clean claim and a major headache.
Let's really break this definition down, because every single word here matters. First, it's the time spent by the consultant and nobody else. Second, it all has to happen on the same calendar date. And third, it only includes activities that personally require that consultant's unique expertise.
So, here's the main takeaway, the thing to tattoo on your brain. The crucial point is, it's consultant-only time. This is the #1 rule to remember. We are not counting the time a lab tech spends preparing a slide or staff spends scheduling. It is only, and I mean only, the pathologist's personal professional time.
And this chart just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the consultant's brain work, right? Personally digging into records, writing up that detailed final report, talking with other clinicians, that's your billable time. Over on the right, you see all that essential support work, which, while totally necessary, is explicitly excluded from your time calculation.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What specific tasks actually make up this total time? As a coding student, you should think of this next slide as your evidence checklist. These are the exact activities you'll be hunting for in the documentation to back up the time the pathologist reported.
You know, what's really fascinating here is just how comprehensive this is. The billable time isn't just those few minutes the pathologist is staring at a slide. No, it's the entire intellectual journey. It's digging into the patient's entire medical history, comparing new findings to old ones, piecing together a conclusion, talking to the requesting doc, and, of course, writing up that detailed final report. All of those pieces add up.
All right, so we've got this standard stuff down, but what happens when a case is just unusually gnarly and takes way longer than those base codes cover? It's a fantastic question, and you know what? The CPT guidelines have you covered with a special add-on code just for this.
And that code is 80506. The easiest way to think about this one? Just call it the overtime code for pathology consultations. It's the tool you pull out for those exceptional cases when a pathologist's time on a single case really goes above and beyond. Now, reporting this is a very clear two-step process. First, you must select the primary code, one of the 8503 to 8505 series that's already justified by the total time. Then you report 80506 in addition to that primary code. It is absolutely crucial to remember that 80506 can never, ever be reported by itself. It's always an add-on. And that brings us to the part of the process that makes or breaks everything: the documentation. Look, without the right notes in that medical record, you simply can't justify the code, no matter how much time was actually spent. For a coder, proving the work is every bit as important as the work itself. Think of this as your final documentation checklist. The medical record has to clearly state the total time the consultant personally spent, the single calendar date it all happened on, what specific activities they were doing during that time, and, if used it, a clear reason for tacking on that prolonged services code.
So let's do a quick rapid-fire recap of the big rules. Number 1, using time is a powerful option. 2, count only the consultant's time on the date of the consult. 3, code 80506 is an add-on only. Never ever use it alone. And 4, the golden rule of our world. Documentation is everything.
And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, right? As a coder, you're not just plugging in numbers. You're a translator. You're using these rules to accurately translate the incredible expertise and hard work of a pathologist into data that tells the true story of patient care. So now you know the rules of the clock. Thanks for tuning in.